Imagine a raging wildfire, an entire town evacuating, and the sheriff's own daughter is trapped. But what if escaping the inferno meant betraying everything her family stood for? This isn't just a story about survival, it's about a choice that will redefine a legacy in the untamed West. Before we continue, if you are new on this channel, please click on the like and subscribe button. Comment where you are watching this story from. God bless you richly. Let's continue. The smoke tastes like death. Emma Garrett pressed her bandana tighter against her mouth, but it didn't help. The air in Ashford's Main Street was thick enough to chew. Her eyes burned. Every breath scraped her throat raw like swallowing hot gravel. Emma, the Johnsons need help at the Mercantile. She turned. Meyer Briggs stood in the haze, soot streaking his face like war paint. Behind him, the horizon glowed angry orange. The wildfire was coming down from the northern ridge, eating through pine trees like they were made of paper. "I'm heading there now," Emma shouted back. She wasn't. She was supposed to be at the stables getting her horse. Her father's voice echoed in her head from 20 minutes ago. "Get out of town, Emma. Head for the mountain pass. Don't wait for me." But then Mrs. Chen needed help boarding up her laundry. Then old Mr. Pike couldn't find his dog. Then the mayor grabbed her arm because the Johnsons were loading their wagon wrong and needed someone who could think straight. Everyone needed Emma. They always did. She ran toward the Mercantile, her boots kicking up ash that coated the street like gray snow. The compass hanging from her neck bounced against her chest. Her mother's compass. The one that always pointed north, toward the pass, toward safety. Emma never looked at it. Inside the Mercantile chaos, Mr. Johnson was throwing flour sacks into his wagon while his wife screamed at him about the china cabinet. Their 3 kids were crying. The youngest, maybe 5 years old, had wrapped himself around a table leg and wouldn't let go. Emma, thank God. Mrs. Johnson grabbed her shoulders. "Tell him we need the cabinet, my mother's cabinet, we can't leave it." The building groaned. Somewhere above them, a timber cracked. "There's no room in the wagon," Emma said, keeping her voice steady. "You need space for your children." "Don't tell me about my children." Mrs. Johnson's eyes were wild. "You don't have children, you don't understand, Emma." Mr. Johnson cut in. "Help me with these sacks. Maria, get the kids in the wagon now." Emma moved without thinking. She always did. Grabbed a flour sack, carried it outside. The heat hit her like a physical wall. The fire was close now. She could hear it to sound like wind, but deeper, angrier, with a crackling underneath that made her bones feel cold despite the heat. 3 more trips. The little boy still wouldn't let go of the table. "Leave him," Mr. Johnson said flatly. "He'll come when the smoke gets bad enough." Emma knelt beside the boy. His name was Thomas. She taught him his letters last winter when Mrs. Johnson was sick. "Thomas, look at me." His face was streaked with tears and soot. "You know the game we play, where you're brave like a bear?" He nodded. "Bears don't live in burning houses, they run to the river. Can you be a bear right now?" 30 seconds later, Thomas was in the wagon. The Johnsons rolled away, and Emma was alone in the Mercantile, with smoke pooling against the ceiling like dirty water. She should leave. She should run. Emma Garrett. She closed her eyes. Mrs. Yates stood in the doorway, a thin woman in black with iron gray hair. She'd been wearing black for 2 years, since her husband died. She held a fireproof lockbox against her chest like a baby. "I need you to come with me. Mrs. Yates, everyone's evacuating. I need you to help me get to my house." Emma stared. "Your house is on the north end. The fire's coming from the north. I know where the fire is coming from." Mrs. Yates's jaw was set. "My land deed is in my house. I'm not leaving without it. The deed's not worth your life. That land is all I have left of Henry. If I lose the deed, the mining company will take it. They've been waiting for an excuse." Mrs. Yates stepped closer. Her eyes were hard. "Your father would understand. He's still in town too, isn't he? Doing his duty." The words hit Emma like a slap. Sheriff Tom Garrett. The man who'd raised her to believe that duty mattered more than fear. The man who was somewhere in this burning town right now, doing God knew what, while he'd ordered her to run. "Where is your father, Emma?" "I don't know." "Liar." Mrs. Yates said it without heat, just fact. "You always know where he is. You've been covering for him your whole life." The compass burned cold against Emma's chest. She'd seen her father an hour ago, not 20 minutes like she'd told herself. She'd seen him breaking into the land office with a crowbar. She'd seen him stuffing papers into a leather satchel, and when he noticed her watching, he'd smiled. That terrible, charming smile that meant he was doing something wrong and daring anyone to stop him. "Get out of town, Emma. Head for the mountain pass. Don't wait for me." Then he'd gone back inside the land office, into the building that would burn first because it was old timber and packed with paper records going back 30 years. "Take me to my house," Mrs. Yates said. "Or admit your father taught you to abandon people when things get hard." The mercantile groaned again. Upstairs, glass shattered. Emma looked at the woman, looked at the door, looked at the orange glow eating the sky. She thought about her father's smile, about the papers he was hiding, about the land office that would burn and take all evidence with it, about the fact that she'd never once asked him what he was really doing, because asking meant knowing, and knowing meant choosing. Loyalty or truth, duty or survival. The compass pointed north. It always pointed north. Emma turned south toward Mrs. Yates's house, toward the fire. "Let's go." They made it 2 blocks before Emma saw her father. He stood in the middle of Main Street with the leather satchel in one hand and a torch in the other. The land office behind him was fully engulfed, flames shooting through the windows like reaching hands. He was burning the evidence, making sure. Tom Garrett's eyes met Emma's across the smoke and ash. For 1 second, she saw something in his face: surprise, maybe shame, maybe nothing at all. Then he dropped the torch and ran, not toward her, toward the mountain pass, toward safety. Without looking back, Mrs. Yates gripped Emma's arm. "Your house is burning, girl. Are you going to stand here watching, or are you going to help me save what matters?" The fire roared closer. The compass pointed north. Her father was gone. Emma had spent 19 years being the sheriff's daughter, being dutiful, being good, being the one everyone could count on. And for what? She looked at Mrs. Yates, at the lockbox, at the desperation in the woman's eyes. Then she looked north one more time, where the pass was probably already choked with smoke, where her father had run without her, where safety meant abandoning everything she thought she knew about who she was. "Show me where your house is," Emma said. They ran into the fire together. The heat was a living thing. It pressed against Emma's face like hot hands. Every breath scorched her lungs. She kept the bandana tight against her mouth, but smoke leaked in anyway. Her eyes streamed tears that left clean tracks through the soot on her cheeks. Mrs. Yates moved fast for a woman past 50. She clutched her lockbox and ducked through the smoke like she'd done this before. Maybe she had. Maybe losing everything once taught you how to move when the world was ending. "This way." Mrs. Yates pulled Emma down an alley between the saloon and the boarding house. Emma's boots crunched on broken glass. The saloon's windows had shattered from the heat. Inside, she could see bottles exploding on shelves, whiskey feeding the flames like oil. The smell was wrong sweet and sharp at the same time, mixing with smoke and fierce sweat. They burst onto Maple Street. Emma stopped. Half the houses were already burning. Flames climbed up walls and jumped from roof to roof like they were playing a game. The roar was deafening now. Not like wind anymore. Like a train. Like God was angry. Mrs. Yates pointed to a small house at the end of the street. White paint, blue shutters. Not burning yet. But the house next to it was an inferno, and the wind was pushing flames sideways. They had minutes. Maybe less. Emma ran. Her chest felt like it was full of broken glass, but she ran anyway. Mrs. Yates kept pace beside her, the lockbox rattling with whatever was inside. They reached the porch just as a window exploded in the house next door. Heat washed over them in a wave. The door was locked. "Keys under the mat," Mrs. Yates gasped. Emma dropped to her knees, grabbed the mat, found nothing. "It's not here. It has to be. I always keep it." Mrs. Yates made a sound like something breaking. "Henry moved it before he died. He said under the mat wasn't safe." Emma looked at the door. Solid oak. Her father had built it himself 3 years ago, back when he still did favors for people instead of whatever he'd become. She knew because she'd held the nails. "Stand back," Emma said. She kicked the door once. The third time, something cracked. The fourth time, it burst inward, and they stumbled into darkness and smoke. The inside of the house was untouched. Clean floors, a rocking chair, a table with 2 plates still sitting out from breakfast. It looked like Mrs. Yates had just stepped away for a moment, like Henry might walk in any second and ask what was for dinner. "Upstairs," Mrs. Yates said. "The deed's in the bedroom." They climbed. The stairs creaked under their weight. Emma's compass swung wild, banging against her ribs. It wouldn't shut up. The bedroom was small. A quilt on the bed stitched in blue and white. A photograph on the dresser misses. Yates and Henry on their wedding day, both of them young and smiling like they'd live forever. A window that looked out at the fire devouring the neighbor's house 15 feet away. Mrs. Yates fell to her knees and pulled a wooden box from under the bed. She opened it with shaking hands. Inside, letters tied with string. A baby's shoe. And underneath everything, a piece of paper with an official seal. The land deed. Got it. Mrs. Yates pressed the deed against her chest. Then she looked at the letters, at the watch, at the shoe that meant she'd lost a child Emma had never known existed. Leave them, Emma said. We have to go. I can carry them. You can't. The box is too big and we need our hands free. Mrs. Yates looked at Emma with eyes that had gone somewhere else. These are all I have. You'll have your life. You'll have the land. That's more than most people get. You don't understand. I do. Emma's voice came out harder than she meant. I understand that if we stay here, we die, and dead people don't get to keep anything. Mrs. Yates stared at her. For a moment, Emma thought the woman might hit her. Then Mrs. Yates's face crumpled. She put the deed in the lockbox and left everything else. They made it to the stairs before Emma heard it. A child's voice. Help, someone help. Mrs. Yates grabbed her arm. Don't, we don't have time. There's a kid out there. There are always kids. You can't save everyone. The voice came again, smaller now, crying. Please, I can't find my mama. Emma thought about Thomas Johnson wrapped around the table leg. She thought about her father running north without looking back. She thought about every time someone had needed her and she'd said yes, yes, always yes, until there was nothing left of her but the word. Her fatal flaw. Her religion. I have to check, Emma said. Then you'll die. Mrs. Yates said it flat. And I'll die too because I can't find my way out alone in this smoke. The voice called out again. Desperate now, Emma closed her eyes. The compass against her chest pointed north, away from the voice, toward the past, toward the choice her father had made. She opened her eyes. Go downstairs, wait by the door, I'll be 30 seconds. She didn't wait for Mrs. Yates to answer. She ran, out of the bedroom, down the hall. The smoke was thicker here, rolling across the ceiling like storm clouds. The voice came from the house next door, the one that was already burning. There was a gap in the wall where fire had eaten through, creating a hole big enough to crawl through. Emma went through. The heat nearly knocked her down. She was inside an inferno. Flames covered the walls and ceiling. The floor beneath her feet was soft, buckling. She could fall through any second into whatever was burning below. Where are you? Emma screamed. Here, I'm here. A closet. The voice came from a closet in the corner. Emma ran to it, yanked the door open. Maybe 7 years old, curled in the corner with his hands over his head. Not Thomas. Someone else's child. Someone else's problem. Come on. Emma grabbed his arm. He didn't move. His eyes were glazed. Shock, maybe. Or smoke. Or pure terror. We have to go now. Nothing. Emma did the only thing she could think of. She slapped him. The boy's eyes focused. He looked at her like she was crazy. You want to see your mama again? Emma said. He nodded. Then move. She pulled him up. He was light, all bones and fear. She half carried, half dragged him back toward the hole in the wall. Behind them, something massive crashed. A beam, maybe, or the whole ceiling. Emma didn't look back. They made it through the hole, into Mrs. Yates's house. Down the hall, Mrs. Yates stood at the top of the stairs. Her face was white. The first floor's on fire. Emma looked past her. Smoke poured up the stairwell. She could see orange light flickering below. They were trapped. The boy started to cry. Emma wanted to cry too. Instead, she looked at the window at the end of the hall, the one that faced away from the fire. There, she said. They ran to it. Emma tried to open it. The wood had swollen from years of weather. She slammed her shoulder into the frame once, twice. The boy was sobbing now. Mrs. Yates just stood there, holding her lockbox, her face blank. The third time Emma hit the window, the frame splintered. She grabbed a chair and smashed it through the glass. Cool air rushed in. Not clean air everywhere, smelled like smoke now, but cooler than the house. Emma looked down, 12 feet to the ground, onto hard dirt and rocks. I'll drop the boy first, Emma said. Then you, then me. "I'm not jumping," Mrs. Yates said. Emma stared at her. "What?" "I can't. My hip. I broke it 2 years ago. If I jump wrong, I'll shatter it. I'll be stuck on the ground while the fire, so you die here instead." Mrs. Yates looked at the lockbox, at the deed inside. "I got what I came for. Maybe that's enough." The boy grabbed Emma's hand. His fingers were small and sticky and shaking. "I don't want to die." Behind them, flames licked into the hallway. The house groaned like a dying animal. Emma looked at Mrs. Yates, at the boy, at the window. She thought about her father choosing himself, about a lifetime of choosing everyone else, about the fact that she'd never once asked what she wanted because duty didn't care what she wanted. The compass burned against her skin. She could save the boy and jump herself, leave Mrs. Yates. The woman had made her choice. Or she could try to save them both and maybe fail, maybe die. What do you owe people who won't save themselves? Emma grabbed Mrs. Yates by the shoulders. "You're jumping. I'll lower you as far as I can. It's 6 feet, not 12. You'll be fine." "I won't. You will. Because I didn't run into a burning house just to watch you give up." Something flickered in Mrs. Yates's eyes, anger maybe, or hope, or just the reflection of fire. "The boy first," Mrs. Yates said quietly. Emma lifted him to the window. "It's going to hurt when you land. Bend your knee. Roll if you can." "I'm scared." "Me too. Jump anyway." She pushed him out. He screamed on the way down, then silence, then crying, which meant alive. Mrs. Yates climbed into the window frame with the lockbox tucked under one arm. Emma grabbed her wrists. The woman was heavier than she looked. Or maybe Emma was just exhausted. She lowered Mrs. Yates as far as she could, arms shaking. "Let go," Mrs. Yates said. "I can get you lower. Let go, Emma. Save yourself." Emma let go. Mrs. Yates fell, landed hard, screamed, but then she rolled over and looked up and her eyes were clear. "Jump!" she yelled. Emma climbed onto the windowsill. The fire was in the hallway now, eating the walls. She could feel heat on her back like the sun was falling on her. She looked down, 12 feet, onto rocks, onto the woman who'd called her a liar and the boy who'd needed saving, and the ground that didn't care if she lived or died. The compass pointed north. Her father was probably through the pass by now. Safe, free, gone. Emma jumped. She hit the ground wrong. Her ankle twisted, and pain shot up her leg like lightning. She rolled, gasping, tasting dirt and ash and blood from where she'd bitten her tongue. The boy helped her up, his little hands pulling at her arms. Mrs. Yates was already standing, limping but standing, still holding her lockbox. Emma said. They ran, through yards, around burning buildings, past the church where Emma had been baptized, now crowned with flames. The smoke was so thick Emma couldn't see more than 10 feet ahead. Her ankle screamed with every step. The boy's hand stayed locked in hers. They burst onto the south road, the one that led away from town, away from the mountain pass toward the canyon where the mining camps were. Emma had been this way once, years ago, when her father was investigating a claim dispute. The air was clearer here. The fire hadn't reached this far yet. Emma collapsed against a water trough, plunging her head under. The water was warm and tasted like rust, but she didn't care. She drank until her stomach hurt. When she came up for air, Mrs. Yates was sitting on the ground with her lockbox open. The deed lay on top, untouched, perfect. The boy sat next to Emma. "Where's my mama?" Emma didn't know. She had no idea who this kid was or where his mother had gone or if she was even alive. "We'll find her." Emma lied. The boy nodded. He believed her. Everyone always believed Emma. Mrs. Yates closed the lockbox. "Your father abandoned you." It wasn't a question. "Yes. And you still went back for me. For this boy. For people you don't even owe." Emma touched her compass. North, always north. The direction she was supposed to go. The direction that meant safety. She'd gone south instead. Into the fire. Into the choice that made no sense. "I don't know how to be any other way," Emma said. Mrs. Yates looked at her for a long moment. Then she stood up, wincing at her hip, and held out her hand. "Then we'd better teach you. Because that way gets you killed." Emma stared at the hand. At the woman who'd manipulated her with shame and duty. At the boy who'd needed saving. At the burning town behind them and the uncertain road. Ahead, she thought about her father's papers, about what they might contain, about the fact that he'd chosen to save evidence instead of his daughter. Some secrets were worth more than family. Some choices couldn't be undone. The fire roared behind them. The compass pointed north. Emma's ankle throbbed. She took Mrs. Yates's hand and stood. "There's a mining camp 3 miles south," Emma said. "We can get help there. Get the boy's mother. Figure out what's left. And then I find out what my father was hiding. What he thought was worth burning a town to protect. That's a dangerous question." "I know." Emma looked at the orange glow consuming Ashford, consuming the only home she'd ever known, consuming the version of herself who said yes to everyone but herself. "But I think I'm done being safe." The 3 of them started walking south, away from the pass, away from escape. Behind them, Ashford burned, the land office, the mercantile, the sheriff's office where Emma had spent her childhood learning that duty mattered more than anything. Ahead of them, the canyon waited, dark and unknown. Emma's compass swung against her chest with every step. North, north. She kept walking south anyway. The mining camp was worse than Emma remembered. 20 crude shacks scattered across a mudflat where nothing grew. Men with dead eyes and broken hands. Women who looked 50 but were probably 30. Children covered in dirt that might never wash off. Emma limped between the shacks with Mrs. Yates and the boy. Her ankle was swollen inside her boot, pulsing with every heartbeat. The compass around her neck felt heavier than it should, like it was pulling her back north, angry that she'd ignored it. The boy suddenly yanked his hand from Emma's and ran toward a woman sitting outside one of the shacks. "Mama." The woman looked up. Her face went white, then red, then she was running too. She grabbed the boy and lifted him off the ground, sobbing into his hair. Emma felt something tight in her chest loosen a fraction. At least someone got their family back. The woman carried the boy over to Emma. She was younger than Emma had thought, maybe 25, with brown hair pulled back tight and eyes that had seen too much. "You saved him. You saved my boy. What's his name?" Emma asked. The woman hugged him tighter. "We got separated in the smoke." I thought her voice broke. "Thank you." Emma nodded. She didn't know what else to do. The woman kept thanking her, words spilling out in a rush. And all Emma could think was that she'd almost left Daniel in that closet. She'd almost chosen Mrs. Yates's comfort over a child's life. What did that make her? Mrs. Yates touched Emma's arm. "We need water. And someone to look at that ankle." They found both at the camp's only well. A grizzled man with one eye gave them a bucket and pointed to a shack where a woman named Ruth supposedly knew about healing. Emma drank first, then poured water over her head. It was cold and clean and made her realize how much of her was covered in soot and ash. She looked like a ghost, they all did. Ruth turned out to be 60 years old with hands like tree roots and a voice that didn't waste words. She sat Emma on a stool, pulled off her boot and prodded the ankle until Emma gasped. "Sprain not broken," Ruth said. "You're lucky." "Doesn't feel lucky," Emma managed. "Lucky's relative, girl. You're alive. Half of Ashford isn't." The words hit Emma like a fist. Half of Ashford. She thought about the Johnsons, about old Mr. Pike, about Mayor Briggs and Mrs. Chen and the 3 dozen other people she'd seen running through smoke. How many of them made it out? "My father," Emma said. "Sheriff Tom Garrett." "Have you seen him?" Ruth wrapped Emma's ankle in strips of cloth soaked in something that smelled like pine and vinegar. "Saw a man matching that description ride through 2 hours ago, heading east toward the railroad." "Did he stop?" "Nope. Had a leather bag strapped to his saddle. Looked like he was running from the devil himself. Or running with the devil's secrets," Emma thought. Mrs. Yates sat down heavily on a crate. She'd been quiet since they arrived, just holding her lockbox and staring at nothing. Now she looked at Emma with something like pity. "You want to go after him, don't you?" "I want to know what he was hiding," Emma said. "What was worth more than his daughter's life?" Sometimes the answer to that question kills you worse than fire. Maybe. But not knowing is killing me anyway. Ruth finished wrapping the ankle and stood. "Word of advice, girl. Men who run don't want to be caught. And fathers who leave their daughters in burning towns don't deserve to be chased." She walked away before Emma could respond. The sun was setting now, turning the smoke-filled sky into something that looked like a bruise. Emma sat outside Ruth's shack and watched miners return from wherever they'd been working. They moved like machines, mechanical and exhausted. Some stopped to talk about the fire, about how they'd seen the glow from miles away, about how it was a miracle anyone survived. Emma touched her compass. The metal was cool now, almost cold. She opened it without thinking. Inside, where the clock face should be, was a tiny photograph. Her mother, young and smiling. dead for 15 years from a fever that had swept through Ashford when Emma was 4. Emma barely remembered her. Just flashes. The smell of lavender, strong hands braiding her hair, and this compass, her mother's most precious possession. A gift from her own mother, passed down through 3 generations of women who'd all lived and died in the West. It always points home, her father had said when he'd given it to Emma. No matter how lost you get, you can always find your way back. But home was burning. Home was a lie built on her father's corruption. Home was something she'd spent 19 years serving that had never once served her back. So what was the compass pointing to now? Emma Garrett? She looked up. A man stood in front of her. Tall, maybe 30, with a deputy's badge on his vest and eyes that moved like he was searching for threats. She recognized him, James Morrison, one of her father's deputies. He'd been in Ashford for about 6 months. Morrison, Emma said. You made it out. Barely. He sat down next to her without asking. Up close, you could see burns on his hands. Fresh ones. I've been looking for your father. No one's seen him since the fire started. Emma's throat went tight. He rode east, toward the railroad. Morrison's jaw clenched. Did he say why? He didn't say anything, he just left. A long silence. Morrison stared at his burned hands. When he spoke again, his voice was careful. Did you see him at the land office? Emma's heart stopped. Wow. The lie came automatically. No, what? Morrison looked at her dead on. His eyes were brown and hard and saw too much. Because 3 days ago, I found something. A ledger, hidden in your father's desk. It showed payments, money coming from the mining companies, money going to your father. Emma couldn't breathe. He was taking bribes, Morrison continued. Has been for years, letting the companies work over their legal boundaries, ignoring safety violations, looking the other way when miners got hurt. He paused. The ledger had names, dates, amounts, everything someone would need to put Tom Garrett in prison. Where's the ledger now? Emma whispered. That's what I want to know. Because I put it back in his desk for safekeeping while I decided what to do with it. Morrison leaned closer. And when the land office burned, I tried to get in to save the records. But the door was barred from the inside. Someone had locked it. Someone who wanted to make sure everything burned. Emma saw her father smile, saw the torch, saw him running north without looking back. He started the fire, she said. Not a question. A fact settling into her bones like poison. I think so. Or he made sure the land office burned once the wildfire reached town. Morrison stood. I need to find him. I need to know if I'm right, and I need that ledger if it survived. It didn't survive. I saw the land office. It burned to nothing. Then I need him to answer for what he did. Morrison looked down at Emma. Will you help me? Every part of Emma wanted to say no, wanted to defend her father, wanted to believe there was some explanation, some reason, some way this wasn't what it looked like. But she'd seen him run. She'd seen him choose his secrets over her life, and she was done lying for him. I'll help, Emma said. Morrison nodded. Then he walked away, moving like a man with purpose. Mrs. Yates appeared from somewhere and sat next to Emma. You're going after your father? Yes, to turn him in. Emma touched the compass, felt its weight. To get answers. Be careful what you wish for, girl. Some answers don't set you free. They just give you new prisons. Then I'll deal with that when it comes. Emma tried to stand. Her ankle screamed. She sat back down hard. Mrs. Yates sighed. You can walk, let alone chase a man on horseback. I'll find a way. No, you'll rest tonight. Let that ankle heal enough to move. Then tomorrow we'll figure out how to get you east. Mrs. Yates opened her lockbox and pulled out the land deed. She stared at it. You know what's funny? I risked everything for this piece of paper, and now that I have it, I'm not sure what it's worth. It's your home, Emma said. My home is ash. This is just proof I own something that doesn't exist anymore. Mrs. Yates carefully put the deed back in the box. But maybe that's how we survive. We hold on to things that don't exist anymore and pretend they still matter. We tell ourselves that duty and loyalty and doing the right thing actually count for something. You think they don't? I think your father was loyal to himself, and he's probably sleeping fine tonight. Mrs. Yates closed the lockbox. While you're out here with a sprained ankle and a broken heart, trying to figure out what you owe a man who gave you nothing but lies. Emma wanted to argue, wanted to defend duty and loyalty and all the things she'd built her life around, but she was too tired. And maybe Mrs. Yates was right. Maybe she'd spent 19 years serving a god that didn't exist. That night, Emma slept in Ruth's shack on a pile of blankets that smelled like smoke and sweat. Her dreams were full of fire, her father's face, the compass spinning wild, pointing nowhere. She woke before dawn to find Morrison standing over her. "We have a problem," he said. Emma sat up. Her ankle was better but still tender. "What kind of problem?" "The miners are talking about the fire, about how convenient it was that the land office burned, how it destroyed all the records of who owns what land." Morrison's face was grim. "The mining companies are moving in, claiming abandoned properties. They're saying anyone who can't produce a deed has no legal claim." Emma thought of Mrs. Yates, of the dozen other families who'd fled without their papers. "They're stealing the town," she said. "Yes, and without the land office records to prove otherwise, there's nothing to stop them." Morrison crouched down. "Unless we can prove your father destroyed those records deliberately, unless we can show this was arson meant to cover up corruption." "How do we prove that?" "We find him, we make him talk, or we find someone who knows what he was planning." Morrison pulled something from his pocket, a piece of paper singed at the edges. "I found this in the ashes of the land office. It's a letter written 3 weeks ago." He handed it to Emma. The handwriting was her father's, neat and controlled like everything else about him. "The wildfire season is early this year. If the wind shifts north, Ashford could be vulnerable. Make sure the important documents are moved to the safe location we discussed. We can't risk them being damaged." It was dated 2 weeks before the fire started. "He knew," Emma whispered. "He knew the fire was coming. He planned for it, or he planned to start it," Morrison said. "Either way, this letter proves premeditation. If we can find out who he sent it to, we can build a case." Emma read the letter again. "Make sure the important documents are moved. The safe location we discussed." "He had help," she said. "Someone else knew. Someone helped him move the evidence before he burned the rest." "Who?" Emma thought about her father's world. The people he trusted. The people who'd been in his pocket for years. And then she knew. "Charles Brennan," she said. "He owns the largest mining company in the territory. He's been buying up land around Ashford for 5 years. And my father has been..." She stopped, swallowed. "My father has been helping him, looking the other way when Brennan worked over the legal boundaries, making sure no one asked too many questions." Morrison's eyes went hard. "Where's Brennan now?" "He has an office in Cheyenne, 2 days east by train, same direction your father was heading." They looked at each other. The truth sat between them heavy and ugly. Tom Garrett hadn't been running from the fire. He'd been running to his partner. To the man who'd paid him for years to betray his town. To the man who had the evidence that could destroy them both or save them both, depending on who got there first. "I'm going after him," Emma said. "You can barely walk, then I'll crawl. I'm going." Morrison studied her. "Why, he abandoned you. He's a criminal. He's probably planning to disappear with Brennan's money and live somewhere comfortable while Ashford rots. Why chase him?" Emma touched her compass. The answer should have been duty, loyalty. But it wasn't. "Because I spent my whole life being who he wanted me to be," Emma said quietly. "I spent 19 years being dutiful and good and helpful. I said yes to everyone. I put everyone else first. And when it mattered most, when the fire came, he left me to burn." She looked up at Morrison. "I'm not chasing him because I love him. I'm chasing him because I need to look him in the eye and tell him I'm done. I need him to know that I'm not his anymore, that I'm choosing myself for once." She stood, testing her ankle. It held, barely. "And then I'm going to make sure he answers for what he did, not because it's my duty as his daughter, but because it's the right thing to do." Morrison was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. "There's a supply wagon leaving for the railroad at dawn. I can get us on it." "Us? You think I'm letting you do this alone? You can barely walk, and Tom Garrett is smart enough to see you coming from a mile away." Morrison held out his hand. "We do this together, as deputies of the law, not as daughter and father." Emma looked at his hand, at the offer to be something other than Tom Garrett's daughter, to be someone who chose justice over loyalty. She shook his hand. Together, she said. They gathered their things as the sun rose. Emma found Mrs. Yates at the well, washing her face. "You're leaving," Mrs. Yates said. "Yes." The older woman dried her hands on her skirt. "Don't come back until you've finished what you started. Don't let him talk you out of it. Don't let guilt or love or whatever else he throws at you make you soft." "I won't." Mrs. Yates pulled something from her pocket. The land deed. She pressed it into Emma's hands. Emma started. "If you make it to Cheyenne, there's a lawyer named Hutchins. Give him this. Tell him Martha Yates sent you. Tell him I need him to file it with the territorial records before the mining companies can steal my land." Mrs. Yates gripped Emma's shoulders. "You saved my life yesterday. You saved my boy Daniel's life. Now save my home. Prove that Tom Garrett destroyed those records. Prove that the people of Ashford still have a legal claim to their land." "Why me?" "Because you're the only one brave enough to go after him, and because you're the only one he won't see coming until it's too late." Mrs. Yates smiled, thin and sharp. "He spent 19 years teaching you to be loyal. He never thought that loyalty might turn into rage." Emma folded the deed carefully and put it in her pocket next to the compass. "I won't let you down," she said. "I know you won't, because you're not your father, Emma Garrett. You're something better, something honest." Mrs. Yates stepped back. "Now go. And when you see that man, when he tries to charm his way out of this like he's charmed his way out of everything else, remember, he left you in a burning town. He chose himself, and you owe him nothing." Emma nodded. She couldn't speak past the lump in her throat. The supply wagon was waiting at the edge of camp. Morrison was already there, talking to the driver. Emma climbed up into the back, wincing as her ankle protested. The wagon started moving. Emma watched the mining camp shrink behind them. Watched Mrs. Yates standing by the well, watching her go. Watched the smoke still rising from where Ashford used to be. Morrison sat next to her. "You okay?" "No," Emma said honestly, "but I will be." They rode in silence for a while. The wagon bumped over rocks and ruts. Emma's ankle throbbed. Her whole body ached. But for the first time in days, maybe in her whole life, she felt something like clarity. She wasn't saving her father. She was stopping him. She wasn't being dutiful. She was being just. And she wasn't doing it because someone told her to. She was doing it because she chose to. The compass swung against her chest. Emma pulled it out and opened it. Her mother's face looked back at her, young and smiling and gone. "It always points home," her father had said. But Emma was learning that home wasn't a place. It wasn't Ashford or the land office or the house that had burned. It wasn't her father's legacy or her mother's memory. Home was the choice to be better than the people who'd made you. Home was choosing truth over loyalty. Home was walking south when everyone told you to go north. Emma closed the compass and tucked it back under her shirt. "Morrison," she said, "when we find my father, what happens to him? If we can prove he started the fire or destroyed the land office records, prison, probably territorial prison in Laramie. 20 years, maybe more. 20 years. Her father would be an old man when he got out. If he got out." Emma thought about what that meant. About visiting him in a cell. About being the daughter who'd turned him in. About how the town would talk. Then she thought about the Johnsons loading their wagon. About Daniel trapped in a closet. About Mrs. Yates willing to die for a piece of paper because it was all she had left. About half of Ashford gone because one man thought his secrets mattered more than other people's lives. "Good," Emma said. Morrison looked at her with something like respect. "You're stronger than you look." "I had to be. I was Tom Garrett's daughter." Emma leaned back against the wagon side. "Now I'm just Emma, and Emma's going to Cheyenne to finish this." The wagon rolled east. Behind them, the smoke faded. Ahead, the railroad waited. And beyond that, Cheyenne. Emma closed her eyes and let the wagon carry her forward. For the first time in her life, she wasn't running toward duty. She was running toward herself. And nothing, not fire, not loyalty, not love was going to stop her. The end. If you enjoyed Emma's story of choosing herself over duty, like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and comment with what you would have done in her place. Would you have chased your father, or let him go? Let me know below. And remember, sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't saving everyone else. Sometimes it's saving yourself.